Hey everyone, welcome back to the Better Divorce Podcast. You probably know who I am, Paulette Rigo, CEO of Better Divorce Academy, author of #1 best-selling book and audiobook, and now course, Better Divorce Blueprint, and yes, of course, the Better Divorce Podcast. And dig in deep today. We're going to have a fun conversation about, life after divorce and, dating. Yeah. So buckle up. So for the past 20 years, it's been Johnny Fernandez's mission, alongside with his beautiful wife, Lara, to help women attract the love and life of their dreams. And for many who have divorced, that may seem like a fleeting thought or potential, but it is. Hey, I'm remarried, so it's possible. And many people, in fact, most people, after they hear about what I went through, go, wait, how did you have the courage to get divorced? I'm sorry. Oh, Freudian slip. How did you get the courage to get married again? Well, I did. But welcome to the show, Johnny. Thanks for coming. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. I never thought I would do this. A good friend of mine, Elizabeth, way back when, asked me to be a guest. And I found the value in helping people in all stages of divorce not only share my own personal story, because I, went through a very unique, unusual, I always call it a unicorn divorce because it's pretty rare, because it was so long, but also because I did get remarried, and that's pretty rare. Although the statistics say that 85% of married people who divorce are remarried within 5 years. So I don't know where you are in your trajectory, people, but this is a conversation the two of us want to have. So I know that value is important, but I'm sure you have a similar kind of why you do what you do. So I would love to hear a little bit about your journey and your story about why would you possibly want to help people with this? Because it's a lot.
It's a lot, and this is our 20th year, but we really feel like we were chosen for this mission. Both Laura and I had married and divorced. We call it our starter marriage. But we were, I realized looking back now when we started this 20 years ago that I had been prepared from this from childhood because my mom had divorced my dad and remarried, and it was a very difficult marriage. He was abusive, and I just kept wanting my mom to get out, and she just, she didn't for her own reasons, but eventually she did, and then she didn't make much better choices after that. Let's just put it that way. And because we learned so much from our parents, our role models, my sister, when she started dating, started making the same kind of choices. And I was basically love coaching or trying to love coach my sister and my mom. Like, this guy's a loser. Don't be with him. You deserve better. And that really wasn't effective because, you can't do miracles in your own hometown. So, but I always found myself wanting to help women make better choices in men. And because, being a man, I can tell a lot of things that a lot of women think that it should be one way. And I'm telling them the actual truth. This is something that clients appreciate about working with us, is that I'm going to tell you how men actually think, not how you think they should think. And so when Lara and I got together, and her patients, she's a doctor, her patients asked her, how is it that you found this great guy? I know you got divorced at a young age. And she said, well, I was very conscious and intentional, and I attracted him to me. And they were like, really? Tell me about that. And she started helping her patients, and her patient visits got longer and longer. And we said, well, we should just do like a workshop to just help them so they can stop asking for love coaching during their chiropractic visit. And that workshop turned into standing room only, turned into a one day, turned into a weekend, turned into programs. And Lara retired from chiropractic to focus on this. I retired from, I was teaching and administrating and running a school. And I retired from that to focus on this. So this is what we've been doing now for 20 years. And we have just so many happy clients and babies and all of that. So it's been a real honor and a pleasure, but it's something that, like I said, from childhood, I think I've been like steered toward this. And so, yeah, it's very fulfilling.
Thanks for sharing. I want to just reiterate that I'm going to call it a quote about you can't perform miracles in your own backyard.
Yeah, in your own
Did I
hometown.
misquote that?
Yeah, that's a Bible thing. Jesus didn't perform miracles in his own hometown. They're like, Jesus, that's just a carpenter's son. He's nobody, So that's just a phrase there. Yeah,
That's a good one. I'm going to have to make a little note of that one. So it's not backyard, it's hometown. But
hometown.
you
That's
get
right.
the message, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, great. So now she leaves her chiropractic business
Mhm.
to create this venture, this movement, I'm going to call it. That's my word, not yours. And then you leave your teaching and administrating to kind of join forces, right? So now, how did you create the curriculum? That's my word too, so
Sure.
that you knew what to teach. Was it an organic thing where the two of you brainstorm? Like, walk
No,
us through a little bit of that creation
sure.
process.
Well, I'm an educator, so I created curriculum, core
Well,
academic.
yeah, need I say more, right? He's an educator, right? Yeah.
I created core academic curriculum for a school in New York, and then when I moved to California, I did the same thing. So I approached this in doing the workshop. I was working with Lara in the chiropractic practice, and I was getting a little antsy sitting behind the desk. And so I said, well, let's do a workshop. And I basically interviewed her about, okay, what did you do to attract me? And then I started doing research about, is this just Lara's special sauce, or did other people do similar things? And what I found was that there are similar stages that people go through when they successfully attract someone consciously and intentionally. Now, we don't work with 20-year-olds. You just get lucky, you find the one, and all of that. Like, that's great. And so a lot of times people think, well, here's the magic trick. Go to the grocery store or meet someone at church, and that's not the magic trick. You just got lucky, which is awesome, and we don't begrudge those folks. But our experience was, you drive the car into the ditch, and then you go, what the heck? How did I get here? And then you start driving the car, and the next car you drive into the ditch, and you're like, what the heck? What am I doing here again? Maybe it's me. Right. And it's that maybe it's me moment that Lara said, I'm going to get serious about this and become a student of love and really figure out how to attract the man that I want. Because these other guys are schmoes, and not what I really want. And so in interviewing her, I laid out the different steps, what we now call our 3D True Love method. And that 3D True Love method is really something that you actually can consciously walk through. We walk our clients through that so that you can attract a much different and better type and quality of man and relationship. And it doesn't matter about your past. Like I said, we've both been divorced. We have clients that have been divorced several times. We got some clients that have never been married, but most of them have had their starter marriage or two or three. And when you come to the to the place of maybe I have something to do with this. That's it. It's not a blame. It's not anything like that. It's just maybe I have something to do with this. Maybe I need to, look in the mirror, which is a great start. But of course, if you're the one who drove the car into the ditch, trying to not drive the car into the ditch is very difficult because it's not like you intentionally drove the car into the ditch. You didn't intentionally choose someone that wasn't quite right for you. It's that there are some things that we're missing. And so we help clients go through that 3D True Love method so that they can not drive the car into the ditch and attract a different type and quality of man.
Beautiful. So you started by interviewing her, I'm going to call it that, right? And sort of getting curious yourself about, well, what is it that you did? In some
Yes.
ways, I think I manifested my current husband. I love you, Stephen. I would always, visualize and think about, well, what would I want to have as a relationship? Because I met my first husband, I was so young. I just turned 17. So I might have been that 20 something that, that you kind of mentioned. But, there is something about being curious about what it is that you do right or
Hmm.
positive or beneficial, not saying right and wrong. I don't mean it that very like correct, but like, what is it you did that worked or was beneficial versus what did I do that was perhaps not so beneficial? And, here I am with we talked a little bit about me being woo woo, but we call that those habituations or those patterns or the, those repetitive, patterns, the driving into the ditch more than once, what
Right.
are called samskaras in the yoga tradition. So, it's like having, these big tires and you drive down the road and it's muddy. So you leave these big tracks, but like
Mhm.
3 days later you come back and even though it's not sunny, I mean, not raining anymore and it's not muddy, your car still wants to go in those same tracks because, well, they're very embedded and your tires are like yearning to go back in those same familiar tracks. So, it's like their habituations or patterns that become more than a memory, but you keep repeating the same patterns. So, which are
Right.
hard to get out of, particularly if you're in a relationship where it's familiar and it's what you're comfortable with, even if it's painful or not healthy. So,
And
I like
that's a
that
big
you were
part of it.
curious.
The other part of it is that we live in a society now that actually encourages things that are not beneficial for you to attract healthy, high quality, high functioning love and relationships.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, our society nowadays, now we've been doing this for, of course, 2 decades. So we've watched things shift and change in the last 20
Mhm.
years. In the last 20 years, the idea of men and women are equal in rights and under the law and stuff has shifted into men and women are the same, identical.
Mhm.
There is no difference. And that is a killer for the relationship because there needs to be some masculine, feminine dynamics. And most women simply are unaware that they have been programmed by society to be much more masculine, and then they bring that into their relationship. We work with women that are professionals, doctors, lawyers, managers, that kind of thing. And so the understanding of masculine, feminine dynamics has really been wiped out in society. And so most of the things, like most of the dating advice that you see out there, is really horrible for trying to date for true love, marriage, and family. This is what we're all about: true love, marriage, and family. And so dating just to date is actually a completely different thing than dating for true love, marriage, and family. And if one doesn't understand masculine, feminine dynamics, the car will get driven in the ditch, not even just because of your habitual patterns, but because there's like gale force winds driving you in that direction. And if you're not aware that you have to push back against that, you're just going to end up there and you didn't even do anything wrong. And so understanding the dating landscape that we're dealing with today and how men and women are encouraged to think and behave today has to be part of the journey. Otherwise, like I said, these gale force winds are just going to sweep you up somewhere and you're going to be like, how did I even end up here? So
Interesting. So you mentioned the stages of manifestation. Would
mhm.
that be something you could summarize, or would that be a deep, long 5,000 hour conversation?
Well, it's a deep, long 5,000 hour conversation, but I can give you certain summaries. One of the things is you mentioned something about being curious. The first step is really recognizing that you have something to do with what it is that has happened in our life. And when we recognize that, we can start to become curious. Well, what do I have to do with it? Right? It doesn't mean that your ex isn't bad and didn't do bad things and all that, but we have a part to play in it. Otherwise, you're just a leaf in the wind and you're just hoping that the asteroid will land on you of a good guy. And that's just very powerless. We believe that we're co-creating our life with our higher power, God, spirit, the universe, whatever it is. And so the first step really is that recognition that I have something to do with this. And then the second thing is imagining something different. Now, this right here is where a lot of people stop because they kind of move into fantasizing. And you want to do some of that for sure, but then you have to look at, well, am I prepared for the thing that I want? And most people simply don't have the ability to look in the mirror and be honest with themselves about that. Now, we all think that we're really good at self-awareness and stuff like that, but that's just a bias that we all have. We think that we know ourselves better than we do. And so in today's environment where we're all suffering from information overload, when you look at your phone, like you can't even look at your phone and see what to do with it. Where are all the instructions hidden for how to operate this incredible computer? It's all in your head, along with your username, your password, your this, your that. All of these things are in your head. And this was not the case 50, 100 years ago. So we have information overload. We have empathy overload, where we're supposed to care about this person across, not just across the street and in our neighborhood, but all around the world and all the suffering and all of that. And I'm not saying that those things are not valuable and important to understand and to have empathy, but it's an overload. And so what's happening is we have no space to create our life. And it also interferes with our ability to see ourselves truly how we are. And so, if you're inside the jar, you can't read the outside of the label. And so that stage right there, the first is that curiosity. The second is to envision something different. And this is where most people stop with that. It's like when I was a kid, I grew up in New York. I wanted to be a New York Yankee. And I had the posters on the wall. I used to go to Yankee Stadium, envision myself. And you didn't miss part of my biography. I never became a New York Yankee, but I did meet a friend when I was an adult who was drafted by the New York Yankees. And I asked him, what did he do to make that happen? And when he shared what he did, I didn't do any of that stuff, but I sure wanted it. And so the recognition of wanting it, wishing for it, praying for it, all of those things are good, but that's not really enough. It's really preparing for what it is that we want. That is where you move from just kind of magical thinking into actually making dreams come true. So another step in that is to get coaching, mentoring, start getting some ideas outside of your own head for what it is that you need to do to move forward. And most of the time we think, well, I know what the problem is, and I will then go about fixing it. But what if your diagnosis of what the problem is a little off? And we all have those experiences where we have a pain, a problem, an ailment, and we go to a doctor and you think it's this thing, and the doctor's like, oh, no, it's something completely different. And you're like, what? I never even realized that. And that's because they have expertise in that area. And just like our phone is now way too complicated for us to fix it ourselves. If the phone doesn't work, you just go, I guess I got to have another one. I don't know how to open it up. It's the same like our car. You can't open your car nowadays and know what's going on. There's computers, there's this, there's that. And so our love life now has become a lot more complicated because of these shifts and changes that I was talking about. I mean, your grandparents didn't have to deal with, people sending shirtless pics or, other kind of pictures in online dating and things like that. They didn't have to deal with catfish and scammers and all of that. They didn't have to deal with, 600 photos that we all have nowadays. They didn't have to deal with all of those things. We have to deal with a lot more today. And so our love life can be almost as complicated as opening up the hood of their car. And this is why having some expertise makes sense, because I know how to drive a car, but I don't know how to fix it. We know how to get into a relationship, but we don't know how to consciously and intentionally engineer ourselves into the type and quality of relationship that we want. And if we're looking around at most of the people that you're talking to probably have no relationship or a really bad relationship. And you're like, God, if that's what a relationship is, I don't want to have anything to do with that. And so to have a different type and quality of relationship, it takes a whole different type of preparation. And that's all part of the manifestation process. Is yes, you definitely envision what you want, but then you get about getting prepared for what you want. And this is something that is kind of like rubber meet road. That's where you're at.
Mm. Well, thank you. That was maybe not the 5,000 hours, but it was very succinct. And I hope that was helpful for everyone, particularly the note that you said about us recognizing the part that we played, or the fact that we have to be involved in it. And I'm just nodding the whole time if you're listening to the audio. Now, this 3D love method, or excuse me, true love method, is it something that is only applicable to those? Now, I think this has a little bit to do with age, that are looking to start a family? Because you mentioned true love, marriage, and family. And to
Mhm.
some, that might mean children. To others, it might mean children. So, or is it not exclusive to that type of relationship where they're looking to get married and have children?
Right. Well, everybody has a different definition of family. Your family may be two-leggeds or four-leggeds or
Good
birds,
point.
you know. And so, and then for some people, they have a family, meaning they have children from a previous marriage, but they want to have a partner, a husband who will be a good role model for them and bonus dad, and or maybe you're the one. We work exclusively with women, but so maybe you're the one who doesn't have biological children, but you may want to step into a bonus mom role where he's got children from a previous relationship, or maybe no children and your dogs are your children. We have plenty of clients that they have that.
No, that's very clear. Thank you for that. Because I was thinking, well, maybe this is really only for the person that wants to have babies, so, but no, yeah, I see your point. So very good. Now, well, I work with people in many different realms of the divorce world, and mediation with couples and coaching with individuals. But regardless, all of them have a question, a curiosity, right? As we're going into this about now what,
Mhm.
where we're getting to the resolution with the mediation and they're both signing the contract and we're submitting it to the court. And it's now, where am I going to live in the next chapter of their life? And naturally, the question of what's next with dating or, how we're just going to use the word dating, as in the next chapter of whatever that looks like. And then those that are going through it, who are litigating and going through, well, not a lot of fun. And it is a scary world of, because this one failed. I'm now damaged goods. I've been abandoned, or I'm no good, or what. I could go on for hours about the stories that I've said. But there are many people that say, what do I do now? And again,
Right.
I'm not a dating coach, everyone. Did you hear that? If you want to
Mhm.
ask me about, dating, I mean, we could have a conversation about it. I'm always up for a good conversation and curious about what you want. But what do you say would be the overall fear that they have in those, general scenarios I'm giving you? Because it's pretty common, Johnny, right? That now
Yeah.
what do I do now? Because a lot of them will just say, oh, they bury their head in the sand and, stay home. Um, they watch a lot of Netflix. They eat some Haagen-Dazs.
Right.
Being very stereotypical here, right? But or they'll they just delve into like a very introverted world, and
Mhm.
yeah, it can be scary. What do they do to get out of that fear?
Well, it's quite understandable that it's not only scary but it's painful because I mean most people don't start their marriage thinking, well, this is only going to last a minute and then I'll get divorced. You thought that was forever, so there is a loss there of the life that you thought that you wanted. The fear comes in when we feel like it's all our ex's fault. Now, I'm not saying that he didn't do bad things and stuff like that, but part of that curiosity is what part did I play there? And the good news in that is that when you recognize that you had a part to play, either in choosing him or how things went, then that means that you couldn't do something about that going forward. Whereas if you feel like it's all his fault, then you're completely powerless. You're just hoping to get lucky with the next one who won't do that. And so, from that place of, I have something to do with this, let me get curious about that, not that it's my fault, the fear comes in not being prepared. And just think about this at work, right? If your boss told you on Monday, you're going to have a big presentation on Friday, it's going to be to the whole department, and you just didn't prepare at all. You just went out partying every night, went to the movies, and Thursday night, you're like, oh my goodness, that presentation is on Friday morning at 9 o'clock. You're going to be really afraid. Why? Why is that? Not because you don't know your job, but because you didn't prepare for this. It's a bigger deal, right? It's the whole department. And so what we say is, yes, it can be scary if you're unprepared, but when you get prepared, it actually becomes less scary. not no scary, but it becomes a lot less scary. And one of the most common things we hear from our clients is, I have never been treated this well in my entire life. And we say, yeah, you're getting into the how much good can you stand? Because when you learn how to, we call it being the Ren, the relationship establisher and navigator. And the thing is, you as a woman, you are the Ren, whether you know what you're doing or not. And so we want to build up our skills as the Ren so that you can establish from early on that you are about true love, marriage, and family. You are a high value woman. You are not just a plaything, and you're not just there to play around. Now, if you want to just date to date, we're not actually the ones to help you with that. Most dating coaches actually are single themselves, so they know all about how to date, but they don't know how to get you to what we consider the goal, which is to get married to the love of your life, live the life of your dreams. That's the goal. So the road to dating just to date and the road to dating for true love, marriage, and family are completely different roads. And so the fear comes from that not being prepared. And so one of the things that we advocate for is getting prepared. And preparation has to recognize how difficult it is, because it's not your imagination that it's difficult out there. The research shows that this is the most difficult time ever in recorded history to be single, partially because society is giving you all kinds of wacky ideas about how to date and how to relate to men. And most of the dating coaches are women talking to women about men. And there's no man around. So they are basically talking about and having conversations about how they want men to think, how men should think, how men should behave, how men should be. And then, magically, the man actually doesn't behave the way you imagine him to be because he's different. And so we recognize that men and women are different biologically, evolutionary. They're different. No one's better than the other, but we are really different. Like as a woman, you're going to see colors more expansively than me as a man will see. You literally will be able to smell, generally speaking, more distinctions than a man can. My wife just redecorated our bedroom, and there's all these different colors there. And I'm like, oh, the red pillows. No, they're not red. They're different shades of it. And I in some ways, I don't even see the different shades of it. And so to recognize that starts to put you back into the driver's seat, which is where you want to be. Because as I said, as the Ren, you're the relationship establisher and navigator, whether you know what you're doing or not. And so that fear can actually be dissipated, because we want to get out of the place of the fear of it never happening, or the fear of marrying the wrong guy again, or the fear, or the idea of living in fantasy land of like the perfect guy will just land on me and choose me. And the movies show you that can happen, right? But the movies are wrong. Years ago, there was a movie called Trainwreck. And there's this woman, Amy Schumer, who's a train wreck. And then she attracts this super great guy who's all in love with her. That's not how it works. If you yourself are a train wreck, and I'm not suggesting anyone is, but the idea that we can be a train wreck and attract a great guy is something that is pushed on by movies again and again and again. And that's just not how life works. So we want to prepare for that presentation on Friday because it's important, and build on the skills that we have, or learn skills that maybe we never knew before.
Well, I will agree with you that Hollywood has a large part they play in a lot in society. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, it kind of sort of, that's all going to be a little bit of fantasy world. So, so I'd like to sort of in close, talk a little bit about these live events that you have, because the evolution of your business, starting from that first initial interview with Lara, transitioning or transforming into this 20-year evolution of these live events that you hold called Love Breakthrough Live, is a weekend event where you help them turn their life around. So not that I think you need to throw out the whole entire itinerary, but like, what is the weekend like and what would they expect? And I'm assuming, are they all in Arizona or do you have them all over the
No,
country?
we have them all over the U.S. in different cities. Years ago, when our daughter was younger, we used to do them only in our hometown in California. But now we're empty nesters, so we can travel a little bit. So we do them in different cities: East Coast, Central, West Coast. But the idea of the Love Breakthrough Live is that we've got to get out of our comfort zone and we've got to get out of our normal daily routine. And so in today's world where so much is done online and all of that, and we love this, we connect with clients in our advanced programs like this, but nothing beats live and in person.
Mm-hmm.
And so the weekend is for women, and it's exclusively for women that want to have a breakthrough in their love life. And that can be breaking through the fear, that can be getting on the road to attracting the right guy. But one of the misunderstandings is, well, I have to heal first, then I'll go to this, because they think that we're like dating coaches. We're not actually dating coaches. We're love and life coaches. We're love and life mentors. And so what's the difference there? Going back to what I said before about dating just to date, this is really about creating a new life. So a lot of women come to us when they're like, I want to create a new life. And so what it's like at the weekend is there going to be some, deep things and hard things and, emotional things? Yes. But is it going to be some kind of big crying fest? No, it's not. It's going to be an opportunity to take a look at where you've been, take a look at where you want to go, and give you the outline of our 3D True Love method so that you have the foundation of what you need to be able to go somewhere different. And of course, if you want to work with us further, we can talk about that there as well. But it's a place to really come to restart your life. And what you don't want to get into is the idea of like, oh, I want to get fit and healthy. I have to lose some weight before I go to the gym. No, you go to the gym to get fit and healthy. And so you come to the Love Breakthrough Live weekend event to start that healing process. And the reason why this is so important, especially if you've just gotten divorced, is I want you to imagine that you've broken an arm. Now, if you've broken an arm, you could just leave it and some healing would take place. But would it heal in the right way? Would it heal where it will become fully functional again? Probably not. And you may say, well, I have a friend who's a doctor and he can help me. Well, he turns out he's a podiatrist. He's not going to be able to help you, or he's a dentist. And so too many people, they say, well, I broke my arm, but I'm going to let it heal. And then I'm going to go to the doctor. And what we say is how you heal like this. And let's bring it to the divorce. The stories that we tell ourselves about what happened in that relationship is like the healing. But what if you're healing in the wrong position? You end up with an arm that is not functional. And if you really want to make it function, you have to re-break it again, right? In order to do that, we all know that can happen. And so this is about taking that broken arm or broken wing or broken heart and healing it in a way that's empowering rather than healing it in a way like too many of the times. You mentioned it before, we kind of like tell ourselves stories about beating ourselves up, and we feel some shame about the divorce. We feel some sense of like, I'm bad or he's totally bad or whatever it is. And how we heal is as important as that we heal. And so this is a place to heal and then be able to look forward. So it's not just going to be a crying fest about all this stuff. It's really taking a look at where you've been and then laying a foundation for a completely new future. It's uplifting. It is unusual because you got to like leave your house, get off of Zoom, come into a place, fly, drive, whatever it is to be there. But if you want the true love, marriage, and family that's at a whole other level, getting out of your comfort zone.
Excuse me. I didn't know that was coming. No, that's wonderful. That helps a lot. I do see a fear that many people have about attending retreats or events is that it's going to be so emotionally vulnerable, that they're going to be on a stage and be on the hot seat and they just don't have the confidence for that type of thing. I think some people dig that and they want that cathartic, let me go up on stage and tell the world all about I just spent because I'm also a coach, not just a mediator, and I specialize in a lot of high conflict situations, antagonistic relationships, and um, um, I did a 3-day conference in London with Dr. Ramani, and many, many, many people there wanted to get up on the hot seat and tell their story. And it was usually the same 5 or 6 that want to keep doing it, and a lot of us are just like, okay, I'm here for my professional. This is like my career here. But it is a certain type of person that wants to avoid that, but there are also a certain type of person that wants that or is seeking that. So it is good to get an idea of what that would feel like, because you don't always know until you go, right? So it's nice. And I'm sure you give a great description and all. So when is your next one and where is it going to be?
Well, we have, there's so many different dates. So we have one coming up March 8th and 9th in Dallas. We have one March 22nd, 23rd in San Jose, California, the San Francisco Bay Area. We have one coming up in Scottsdale, right here in the Valley of the Sun, on April 12th and 13th. And our Love Breakthrough Blueprint course and our Love Breakthrough Live event work hand in hand. And so, this is an opportunity to really start that process of creating a new life.
And is it Friday to Sunday or Saturday to Monday?
Oh, Saturday and Sunday. Those
Saturday
dates
and Sunday.
And we encourage people, if you're from out of town, which a lot of people are, to fly in on Friday and leave on Monday, because it's 9 to 6. You don't want to come late, leave early.
Sure.
And really to get the most out of it. And really, we take your dreams seriously, and we encourage our clients, the women that come to the Love Breakthrough Live, to take their dreams seriously, just like you would if it was a work event. You wouldn't be like, oh, sorry, boss, I'm leaving 3 hours early. You wouldn't do that. You would just stay for the entire time.
Right. Well, if you're going to do something, do it right. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for this conversation. I hope it's been insightful and helpful to everyone here listening. And this will likely air in early to mid-February. So those March and April dates would be appropriate. So if you do want to jump into that, please reach out to Johnny. What's the best way for people to learn more about you and your work?
I think just going to our website, radianceandcourage.com. Radianceandcourage.com. That's kind of long. If you remember, you can also just type johnnyandlara.com, and that will redirect you to our site.
That's always easy to remember. And it's Lara. Remember, yeah. Not Laura, but Lara. Well, thank you, Johnny. And everyone, this is a calling for you to take everything you do seriously, preparing for divorce, gracefully, wisely, going through it with success, prepared, and also creating the next chapter of your life after. No one's going to do it for you. That is a fact. So thanks again, Johnny. Until next time. See you guys soon.